And live. So, hi everybody. Today we are doing a design thinking session, and with me I have Brenda, who's going to be our speaker, and Tabby, who is also part of the organizing team of She Code Africa Nairobi. So, I think we could start with introductions first, with like what is She Code, and then we can go on. So, She Code Africa Nairobi is a community that embodies technical growth, networking, mentorship, and visibility among all levels and career roles in technology for women. We aim to bring more women into the tech world. That is, our main motion is one woman at a time. And we have various social handles. We have this YouTube channel, and we also have a Slack group plus the Twitter handle. And mainly, we have communication through our Telegram channel. So I would like to also introduce our speaker. Her name is Brenda. She's going to be doing the design thinking session today. She is a program associate at Global Minimum Incorporation, where she designs and implements programs for youth to enable them to create innovative solutions to challenges in their communities. So she has also facilitated design thinking workshops for over 300 youths in Kenya. Yes, over 300. And she holds a BSc in electrical and electronics engineering from UON and is a self-taught developer. When she's not working, she enjoys mentoring young women in STEM, reading, listening to music, and occasionally cooking. We have a chef in the house. It was nice meals, please Brenda up. Yes, so welcome, Brenda. This is your design thinking session, and I cannot personally wait to begin this session. And I hope that we will all learn. And also, if you have any questions, we are going to be taking questions at the end of the session. So Tabby will be leading that session, and then yes, she'll be leading that session later on. You can continue posting your questions on the comment section. So yes, welcome, Brenda.
Thank you, Velda. And as we speak, on that cooking part, as we speak, my oven is just burning up with a pizza that I'll be eating after this. So on that cooking, you're very welcome to visit. And I think I like cooking because I love eating. So I cook what I eat. Yeah. So I'm really so excited to be here today to share this introduction to design thinking, because to me, design thinking, it was introduced to me. I want to say accidentally, because when I was in campus, I was studying engineering, and as an engineer, you're thinking of yourself working in a big corporate, like designing stuff, doing those technical things. But when I got to the job, it was not really what I anticipated, and there was so many challenges as a woman. And at some point, I quit my job. And when I joined this Global Minimum as an organization, that was the first time I was introduced to design thinking, and I was told, like, go lead a session on design thinking. I have no idea what this is. So I had to do like a lot of online classes and reading to understand what design thinking is, so that I can introduce it to younger generations. So that was my introduction, and I'm glad I quit that job and joined Global Minimum. But it was really, it was frustrating. You have a salary, and now you're quitting a job to start as an intern, earning a very, small amount of money. And in Kenya, the way money matters, you want money. So I was really so frustrated. But I'm glad I joined the organization, and I've been able to help so many young people understand, like, their communities, what are the challenges they are facing, and what can they do to be part of the solution, instead of just looking at the problems and waiting for people to come and save them. So today I'm here for She Code Africa, facilitating this in introduction to design thinking. And since we've already done our introductions, I go directly into sharing my slides.
Yes.
And Velda, please let me know if you can see my slides so I can go ahead.
Okay, yes, I can see your slides, but let me share it here. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
actually upload the slides. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an introduction to design thinking presented by me, Brenda Nyakoa. Um, I just want to be clear, many people call me Nyakio, and I even noticed in the, in the poster, it's Brenda Nyakio, but my real name is Nyakoa. So it's really, really, really awesome to meet all of you who are here. And if you're watching this live, I'm really excited to be facilitating this session. And if you watch this in future, also, I'm glad to have you watching this. And I'm thankful to She Code Africa for inviting me. As much as I work as a program associate at Global Minimum, my role mostly involves developing programs, designing workshops for young people, introducing them to design thinking, facilitating them so that they can, go from an idea to actually realizing their solution. And most of the time, my best moments are when someone comes in with this big idea and they are so eager to develop something, and then they realize, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to be to be developing. So I call them aha moments, because you realize that you have so many assumptions that have been challenged, and you come to the workshop and you do your research, and you realize whatever was in my head is actually not what my people need. So those are my best moments when it comes to design thinking, when you realize that you have so many assumptions that have been challenged and you have to change your look at things. So it's really, really nice to meet you all. My name is Brenda Nyakoa. I work as a program associate at Global Minimum, and that's what I do for young people, helping them realize their roles in their community as problem solvers. The expectations for this session is to gain an understanding of design thinking concepts. And in my view, I feel like design thinking is not something that you can talk about and master it. So you really have to do it to master it. So in this session, we'll be doing a lot of activities. So I do hope you have your pens and papers ready, or your notebooks if you are a digital person and you want to do everything on your computer. Are we together, Velda? Are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Okay. All right. So the expectation for this is for you to gain understanding of design thinking and do by learning. What I mean by that is we're going to do a lot of activities to help you understand what design thinking is. So I came up with this icebreaker because it's been, 2020 was a tough year, and many people did a lot of things, discovering themselves, working from home, staying away from school. So you must have discovered something about yourself. And at this point, I would like to hear from people, like, what is that one surprising thing you learned or discovered about yourself? And I'll go last just to give people an opportunity to talk about themselves. It could be professional, personal, academic, just a random thing that you learned about yourself. So I'd like people to share, what's that one surprising thing that you discovered about yourself in the past 3 months. That should have been in 2020, like as 2020 ended. So this is a time for you guys, and maybe I should stop sharing so that I can see people sharing. You can use the chat or you can just speak up, because I want this to be like an interactive session where I'm not just talking to you guys. So
Oh,
share something about yourself. Like, what did you discover? Or what did people tell you? What did you hear about yourself? What did you learn? Things like that.
I think we should start with Belda.
I wanted to start with you, but that's how you escaped this. Well, what I learned from this whole experience, think first of all, we all learned that things can always get worse than they are. Yes, and despite everything, life has to go on. You have to continue being adaptable. That you need to be a person who is open to learn. And despite having like COVID affecting all our activities, we still had to move to now. Okay, how can we live? Whether we can have like online events, especially for She
Hmm.
Code Africa Nairobi. Yes, and life has to move on. It doesn't stop for nobody. Time doesn't stop for nobody. Yes.
Okay, that's good. And Tabby?
No, so I'm going to make one easier for you. So I'm just going to be reading what other people are saying.
But we need to hear from you also. What did you
Yes,
discover about yourself?
yes, you need to talk about Tabby first.
I need time to remember. I kind of forgot everything about 2020. Like I need to remember. So I need to remember.
You said the year. You were like, it didn't happen.
Yeah, like I'm really trying to think, but I don't know. Let me just say this. Let me read out. Someone
Okay.
said they found they're really good at making cakes. I think now
Mm.
we have a chef and someone who is a
Oh
baker.
my god. Can I
Baker.
have one? I love cakes, by the way. Please, if you're baking, inform me.
Oh, we have another Eliud Kipchoge. Someone found out that they are running helps them relax. Okay, that's nice. Run. I can't even run for my life.
I can see Salma. Salma said she discovered that I can wrap my head into serious coding, which I really enjoyed and gained more skills. On my personal life, I discovered that I am an introvert, though I seem extrovert. Wow, that's interesting. Like, most people have been indoors, so this person, like,
Yeah,
she really got into coding and developing stuff. And
yeah,
it will be exciting to see like some of the things you were able to achieve and things like that.
yeah,
And yeah, that's really nice. And for me in 2020,
yeah.
as I mentioned earlier, like I do cook, I love eating. I was like, for the first time I baked, and they said if you didn't bake in 2020, you didn't really live 2020. So for the first time I baked, so I baked like my first chocolate cake, and it was awesome. So I discovered I could bake. Yeah. There's
Yeah,
an Ab Ambani Godwin who underwent a paradigm shift, and situation can be seen as an opportunity, as a setback, depending on how I see it. I Okay, that's interesting. Delphine, I realized that listening to podcasts calm her nerves amidst of glass. Cheers to you, Delphine. I prefer learning from home to going to school daily, which, it's another whole conversation on remote learning. Like,
yeah,
students really want to go back to the, class and listening to their lecturers. Margaret realized that she enjoyed learning new languages. Oh, Margaret, it would be nice to see like what new languages you did learn. Yeah.
yeah.
So for me, because of watching, I told someone I was learning Spanish, and they told me, "Is it because you watched Money Heist?" It's totally unrelated because I was just, I was trying to learn a new language, and I thought, Spanish could be cool.
Okay, I have a question
Yeah.
for you. Which platform did you decide to learn the new language from?
Do I remember the name? There's an app that teaches languages. Do I
Oh,
even remember?
Duolingo. Is it Duolingo or
Duolingo, yes, Duolingo. Yeah,
I'm also
yeah.
trying it out. I wanted to like do French for a bit. I used to do it in high school, so I wanted like to know if I can remember some of the stuff. So
You
I
know,
needed
in
to
in
wax.
high school, people who did languages were the cool kids. So I, hey, Margaret, it would be good to tell us like what new languages did you learn, things
Yeah.
like that. But anyway, that was
Okay,
just
can I say mine now?
Yes.
yeah, yeah, sure, Tabby.
It's kind of lame, but
Yeah.
I discovered that I cannot be an introvert. Like I was really trying. I was trying to be an introvert, staying away from people and everything, during this whole lockdown time.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't keep up. Like I had to get out and talk to people. Like I got out of social media. I was not talking to people, and man, I was almost depressed. I was like, let me just go back to my ways.
The
Yeah,
whole settings.
You're
yeah.
a
So
people's person. Like you
yeah,
can't survive without
Yeah.
people.
I don't see how you even try to be an introvert, Tabby, to be honest. I mean, it defies your nature. Why would you want to do that to yourself?
basically, basically, you cannot change who you are. Just
Yeah.
accept yourself.
You accept it, move on.
And
Yeah.
on some level, I think 2020 really brought that out. Like you are who you are. So do the best in your position. If you're a person who likes solving problems, you are able to look at it from that point of view. And if you are helping people, it's
Yeah.
who you are. So that was just an activity to get us started because in the next session we'll be doing a design challenge, and I'm really looking forward to hear from what you guys will come up with. So I'll go back to sharing my screen so that we continue.
Yeah. And Irene also stated that she learned that she's kind of an introvert and she can stay home a whole month away from
uh,
everyone and everyone just by herself.
oh,
Well, Tabby,
wow.
I think we can add points here.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
All right, I think we can move on to the design activity. For this
Yeah.
session, I think we'll spend about 40 minutes just doing this activity, and mostly because I want us to understand what it is that we are learning about design thinking. And from my perspective, the most important part is understanding as a software developer, as an entrepreneur, as a problem solver, do you really understand the problems you are solving? Do you understand the people whom you're solving the problems for? So for this activity, we are going to do an activity to help us understand who our users are. So from my conversations with Velda, I my assumption is most of you are software developers who are just getting started. So you're probably creating software for people to use, or you're looking to join an organization that's creating software for people to use. But then, do you really understand who you are designing for? So the first activity we're going to do today is gaining empathy, which is the first stage of design thinking. And we'll look at other stages as we progress. And if time allows, we'll do other activities in those stages. So for this first activity, I want us to think about maybe you are a software developer, or you are a business person, or you are thinking about creating a solution for your community or for some people. Do you really understand who these people are? What is it that you are creating for them, and do they actually need it? So the first thing you're going to do is try and gain empathy for these people that you're designing for. And empathy is the first stage of the design thinking process. So what we're going to ask ourselves is, who am I designing for? Think about, if you're creating software or designing a product, who is it that you're targeting to use your software or your product? So what we're going to do is develop a persona, and this is going to be a fictional persona, ideally, because at this point in this workshop, we haven't really identified people that we're going to talk to, so we are imagining them. So at the end of like 15 minutes, I want us to be able to share like who our persona is. So think of that project you're doing, or software you're developing, or a product you're thinking of. If you're not working on any project per se, you can think of something you'd want to work on and develop that persona. And a persona is just a character that you imagine that will be using your product or your software and things like that. So think about their demographics, who are they, what do they do for a living, what's their age, are they female or male? And I've created here some fictional character to help you in that process. So think about their background, what do they study, or what do they do for a living, how much do they earn, how do they communicate, what tools do they use, what is their goal in life, like if they're going to use your product or your service, what is it that they're trying to achieve, and what challenges do they face that hinder them from achieving that goal. And then as you are doing this, and I hope you do have a pen and paper, as they are trying to achieve this goal, what is hindering them from achieving this goal? So at the end of the activity in 10 to 15 minutes, I want us to be able to share, like, who are you thinking about when you're developing your software or your product and things like that. And I just want to highlight that when we're dealing with empathy, it's different from sympathy, because then you're able to set aside your assumptions, like to be able to really put yourself in the shoes of this person that you're designing for. And I have this statement to help us. Empathy helps design thinkers to set aside their own assumptions to gain insight into the users and their needs. So it's not about you as a designer, it's really about your user and the person who is going to use your product or your software, and really think about them. So I'm going to give us 15 minutes for this activity, and I'll put a timer so that when the 15 minutes are over, we are able to hear from some of you and what you're able to achieve. And if you do have questions, I'll be happy to help you. I'll stop sharing my screen so that I can look at what you guys are doing. So if you have questions, type in the chat. But I hope you are, close with your pen and paper and participating in this activity. So 15 minutes, and I'll alert you when you can start sharing. And Velda, I hope you are participating in this activity as well. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm also participating. I'm hoping that Stabby is also participating.
Yeah, you need, pen, paper, or notebooks and notepads and things like that, and if applications for writing and things like that. So just like as a software developer, I believe you're like a problem solver. So
Yeah.
think about that person. What is it that you're trying to problem solve? What is that challenge that you're trying to problem solve for? So write it down. Who is that person who will use your product or your software, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So, okay.
and I think you should know, I don't think you were sharing your screen before. You are not.
I wasn't.
Nah.
No,
I
I thought it
just
was actually intentional.
I just, oh, I thought I was.
No.
Okay.
Right now I'm sharing.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's weird.
So I
But
think
okay, for this part, I don't need to share my screen. I just want to hear from people who are they designing for? What are these challenges we are thinking about? You know, just to share a personal story, when I was learning to code, I did engineering, and
yeah.
for some reason, I thought I should have done computer science instead of electrical engineering, because when I went to electrical, I thought I'd be doing a lot of computer things, and then there's just a lot of electrical circuits to do and all. So I started learning coding on my own, and one
Yeah.
thing that I got so stuck in terms of I'm learning so much code, but I'm not really doing, I'm not solving any problems. And I realize it's because I haven't identified any challenge in either in my community or places where I are. So I'm not doing any projects particularly to solve any challenge. And the moment I realized, like, when you learn to code, you identify a challenge in your community or in your organization that you start solving for that, then you get a project to do, and you can actually add it to your GitHub and things like that. So it became easier for me to code, because then you're building something that is meaningful. And that's how I really got into human-centered design, because why learn to code if you're not solving any problem? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's relevant for this group of people to know that when you're coding or you're building software, you should be thinking of the people you're building for. Are you just coding for the sake of coding, or are you coding to solve an actual problem? So I'm really excited to see, and I would like to hear from people. It's
I
been
think you should, sorry for interrupting. I think you should give also, you should repeat like the rundown, like what are the main questions that the audience could answer, or what exactly they should type to the chat so that they understand it better.
Yeah,
um,
it was in your notes or presentation. It was on your slides, so you could share it so
Yeah.
that people can see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm busy looking at the comment section, to see
Yeah.
what are going to start
Yeah,
saying.
so here's my slide. Can you see my slides? My slides right now?
Let me
Yes.
Yeah, so when you're trying to empathize with your user, you're thinking, what are these people trying to achieve? How are they approaching it, and why are they doing it the way they do it? So you're trying to gain empathy, and empathy it's closely, sometimes it can be confused with sympathy, where you tell someone, you open up to someone, and they're like, oh, at least you have this and that. But when you're really empathizing with someone, you are trying to fit into their shoes and understand their situation. So when you're coming up with this persona, the person you're designing for, you're thinking about, who are they, what do they do for a living, what's their demographics, their age, their gender. So you can see this little guy I've created here, like he's a guy, he's holding a folder, he's probably like working for a corporate and things like that. So when you're thinking about the things or the project you're working on, think about that person who will be using your software, or the beneficiary of your project if you're not developing software. So what do they do for a living? What is their age? What do they do? What do they enjoy? What, why do they enjoy it? How do they communicate? How did you know that they're doing that thing? Did you observe them, or did they tell you? Things like that. So I really want you to think about how you interacting with this user of your software or things that you're building, and what's
Brenda,
their experience. Yeah.
can I ask? favor?
Sure.
So as we wait for for the audience to kind of think about the whole thing, could you give us an example? Start giving us a persona so that people can know.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
the
Sure. I
people
can
can know
use my
how to be, how
yeah.
to.
Yeah. That's a pretty good question. I can give you an example of maybe give you my situation. I work for an organization that works with young people, so I can look at myself as a persona. So Brenda is a young adult, 20 something. They say women don't reveal their ages. I'm a 20 something year old. I
Yeah.
work for an NGO. I enjoy, eating and cooking. I work for an NGO that I'm developing a persona that way. So one challenge that I face is getting young people interested in
In
STEM.
for
Like
an
how do
NGO.
they so that I'm developing. So one challenge that I face is getting young people interested in
In
STEM.
for
Like
an
how do
NGO.
they Yeah, so my goal is to get more young people interested in STEM education so that we have more young Africans pursuing STEM careers. So in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics careers. So that could be like that's a persona you can develop. You can use Brenda as an example. So if you are looking to develop programs to help young people, you know, participate in STEM careers, I could be a persona like I'm a person who's thinking, how do I get young people interested in STEM? So I'm Brenda, I live in Nairobi, I'm this particular age, I work in an NGO that does this, and my main goal is to get young people interested in STEM. The challenges that I face is currently maybe COVID, giving people challenges accessing to facilities and programs that I run because I can't go to their schools to talk to them and things like that. So if you are a software developer and you're maybe an example is people who are in e-commerce, maybe you're trying to build a software for a person in maybe the food industry to use your platform for e-commerce, your persona would be that person who you want to order online, like the customer for the e-commerce website. So in this case, it's going to be fictional because we don't really have time to talk to these people and understand that they are, our clients and things like that. So we are going to build a fictional persona. So you're using your assumptions, your imagination. So just go wild and imagine that person who would use the software that you're creating or a product that you're building. Tabby, is that understood?
Yeah. Like from your description, I could get the demographics. Like you live in Nairobi, like a little bit of background on yourself, your
Mm.
goal, and the challenges. And I think it's pretty clear now. So
Okay. All right. So I think we have like 7 minutes left for this activity.
yeah. So Irene mentioned that she can help. So I think we are waiting for her to type and see the descriptions
Okay.
we have. Yeah,
All right.
and anyone else too.
Yeah, and if anyone has a question, be sure to,
Yeah.
type it up and Tabby will read it out for me.
Yeah.
With my pleasure. I don't know. Okay. Belda, are you keeping time for us? Oh, I think Brenda is doing so. Like counting. How many minutes we have now? Six?
Like 5 minutes.
Oh, five. Okay.
Yeah. So, who is your persona, Tabby? Ah,
on me. I was trying to engage with Brenda and talk to her, and you just shoot me with the question.
Or probably if you had more questions for Brenda, I think you could also ask, because I think the questions would help us also develop a good persona.
Yeah, because whether you're listening like everyone else, you're the one who's giving us your persona. Brenda and I are on the waiting part.
So if you're working on any project, like you're developing software or you're doing on a project, whether work related or a personal project, whoever you're designing for could be your persona. So feel free to to be creative.
Okay. I need to think about this. Let me just.
Remember, you have only 12 minutes left.
And like I said, when you're learning software development, it's difficult to just learn and sit back. You have to do like a project, and when doing a project, you are solving some particular challenge for an organization or a group of people. So those people could be your persona. And if you're not a software developer and you're here today, and maybe you're thinking of becoming a software developer or a problem solver in your community, those people in your community you're thinking about, those are your persona, like fictional personas. You're thinking about challenges they're facing. So identify one person that you want to solve a problem for, and that could be your persona for today. We have 3 minutes left, so I'll give you 3 minutes to finish up. If you are writing down, you can describe this person that you're thinking about. You can write paragraphs, or you can just do something simple like I did on my slides here, like a stick person, describe them, what's their age, what they do. And the end result would be something as simple as, Paul is a 32-year-old. He works for this organization. His background is in software engineering, and he mainly codes in this language, or he's trying to solve a problem in this community where, maybe you think about problems in your community, like if it's water, pollution, or mental health, things like that. So really think about that person you're designing for. And what's hindering them from, building that solution. Because ideally, we all think of solutions, but we never implement them. So what's
Yeah.
that challenge that's hindering us from implementing this solution?
So
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have created a persona when we were just talking here.
Uh-huh.
So my persona is Tabitha. So she's a 20 something year old, and she's also a developer, and she's also into Internet of Things. So a problem she has is that she keeps leaving lights on everywhere she goes, then she forgets to like switch them off. So this leads to her having a high electricity bill, or sometimes experiencing blackouts due to tokens being finished. And then what is the goal? So the goal is to create something that either reminds Tabby to switch off the lights when she's out of the room, or out of somewhere in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And she also wants it to be easy. Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily an off switch. It can also be something that you can actually get close by, and then it automatically shifts it closes the lights, sorry, it shuts off the lights, or whatever you do the lights. So remember, I said she's an Internet of Things developer too. so she can actually build her own solution and optimize her sockets actually. So that is the goal. Challenges she's experiencing to do this kind of thing requires a few hardwares, and she does not have the money to actually purchase this. And another challenge is she is not very active right now. She's a bit lazy, so I think that is also a challenge.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I tried creating that persona. So I think yes, I think I have
Okay.
a I have
And
checked.
that's really, really, really a good description. And I hope this is not our Tabitha
It's
who
not
is
our target.
lazy. Yeah. So if you're doing the activity, and like that's a good description of what a persona is, because you've mentioned like their name, what they are doing, what their profession is. And if you can hear, my timer has gone off, so our 15 minutes are over. So that was a really good description of a persona and what they're trying to achieve. So I would like to hear maybe from the chat, is there anyone who is willing to, share who
Yes,
their persona is? Maybe hear from people who are doing projects or working on stuff. Who is their persona? Who are they designing for? What are they building and things like that?
Um, so if I could put together what Irene shared,
Mm-hmm.
so her persona is Nila. Nila is a 17-year-old girl living in the streets of Nairobi. Yeah. Because of the challenge or the problem. The problem, yeah, the problem. She got pregnant while in the streets, and she's now faced with the challenge of raising a family in the streets. She has no option or any alternative to live a different life. Her goal is to be out of the streets and support her young family.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh, awesome. So we do hope Irene, like whether it's a fictional persona or an actual person we do hope by the end of this session we'll be able to, come up with a solution for her. There's
yeah.
Ambani Godwin, who says their persona is a middle-aged person living in an urban area, has a regular income, likes unique and flashy stuff, but he or she cannot be able to afford it. their goal, their goal is to stand out and be unique. Oh wow!
that's a tough
Wow.
one.
Yeah, that's a good description, like of many millennials.
Yeah,
So,
it's
yeah,
actually a problem. Actually, it's an actual problem.
it's very, 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 very creative,
Yeah,
Godwin. Thank you for sharing that. So, for the next session, and I'm going to share my screen again, and I hope this time you see it. Now
yeah,
that so for the next session, we're going to do understanding the needs of our users. So you've thought of this person you're trying to design for, you've thought of who they are, what they're trying to achieve, but do you really understand what their need is? For example, like Ambani said, their persona is a middle-aged person who is trying to, live this flashy life, but they can't afford it. So you're going to try and analyze their situation and really synthesize whatever information you got about them. So in an ideal situation, if you are in the field and we had more time, we'd go talk to this person and understand what is it that you want to live. What does it mean to you to live a flashy life? Do you want to be sharing on social media? Or what income do you want to, like what is your ideal income? Things like that. So you're going to analyze that information that you collect from these people. So in this case, because we have limited time and we're thinking about a fictional persona, we are limited to, you know, some concepts, but in an ideal situation you go interview this person or send them a questionnaire to answer some few concepts to understand what is it that they need in their life. So like someone said clearly, they want to live that flashy life. So what is their need really? Is it, do they need to be validated as a middle incomer, or a rich person, or a fancy person, or what is it called, um, a celebrity, things like those. So you're trying to analyze their situation and breaking down that complex situation that they have to simple things. So at the end of this, and I'm going to give us 10 minutes for this. So you thought of a persona and you describe them. So for this next session, you're going to analyze their situation and synthesize that information that you have about them. Maybe you did research on them online, or you talked to them, or you imagine them. So synthesize that information, put it together, and really understand what is it that this person is trying to achieve. At the end of the 10 minutes, we should be able to describe that, Brenda is something. So you describe them. Brenda is trying to reach out to more youth in Kenya, and she needs a platform to do it because she really believes in the potential of young people, and blah blah blah, something like that. Or this person that you describe, XYZ is a celebrity who is trying to achieve this and show people that she's living a lavish life, and she needs something to enable her to do that thing. So by understanding what your user needs, at the end of that, that session, you're able to really describe to someone that my user needs this thing. So for example, I'm giving you like human beings and phones. We love our phones so much. So I could say, Brenda is a 20-something-year-old who needs to communicate with her co-workers because she believes that good communication would foster better collaboration in her workplace. So she needs, you develop something for her to help her communicate. And one, besides that description, you could ask yourself, how might you help this person achieve their goal? So at the end of these 10 minutes, I want you to be able to describe that need that your user has. Is that clear? From Tabby, did you get that?
Yeah, like I completely understood. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm
So
just waiting for Belda to now give us her.
You are exploiting me.
No, no, no. Like you already now have your persona, so we now want to hear from you, like what your.
yeah. So what is it that your persona is trying to achieve, and how can you help them?
Okay, so I should I define the problem? I think I did define the problem when I was stating the persona. So the problem. So walk me through how I can define this problem well. So
The slide. In the slide, like
yes.
the user needs blah blah blah. So like if it's Tabby, your persona was Tabby. So Tabby needs this because blah blah blah.
Oh,
So you had your persona in the first place. Your
yeah,
persona was who again?
Tabitha.
Oh, so your persona, for example, so Tabitha was trying to find an affordable way to switch off her lights so that she's able to, and she has the skills of IoT.
Yes,
So maybe your user needs could be something like Tabitha is trying to reduce her
electricity.
electricity bills. because she wants to save money, or why does she want to receive her electricity bills? Because if I have money to pay the bills, I could just pay. So there's a reason why she wants to reduce that bill. Things
Yes.
like that. Yeah. So her
So,
goal is to reduce her electricity bill because she wants to save more money, or she wants to do something. Or it could be something like, you phrase it something like, how might we help Tabitha reduce her electricity bills by ensuring that she has an efficient way of switching off her lights, things like that.
okay.
Yeah.
So
That's
I
it.
think I could try phrasing for both of them.
Mm.
Uh, so Tabitha needs a way that she can reduce her electricity bill because she wants to be able to save money so that she can pay for the gym.
Now I'm wondering how the gym came in. But yeah, that's awesome, because now it brings in the concept of, this is Tabitha. She has bills to pay, and she
Yes.
has a gym to attend to. And if she's unable to pay her bills at an affordable price, she won't be able to pay for her gym. So, like,
Yes.
that's really, right, really good, because it links people's, a problem could lead to another problem. So if she can't pay for her bills, she can't pay for her,
Yeah.
her gym. So, like, that's a good that's a very good example.
So, how
Anyone
might
else share?
uh, when we're waiting for others to share, I think I can continue with how might we help Tabitha reduce her electricity bill to be able to afford the gym.
Mhm. Awesome.
Yes. I am also impressed.
Yeah, like that's creative. I've never thought it from that point of view, that, if I reduce my, electricity bills, I could be able to afford another another
Exactly.
activity like gym. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be a gym, like maybe a membership to some sports club.
Yeah.
Mm, that that's really creative. Thank you
Well,
for
that, well,
sharing.
I think, well, I think you should share your user need or the how might we in the chat so that people can also
Okay.
on it and get a foundation.
Okay, sure. Let me just do it like now. Oh, Godwin. Godwin has already posted also. Tabitha, would you take that clip as I post?
Okay, so Gary says this son of mine lives somewhere in a small bed sitter. Okay, and he or she wants to make it his or her palace. He or she thinks of this cool blinking and dimming lights that can respond to an input voice. Let me go back to the persona. Godwin's persona was a middle-aged person living in an urban area, has a regular income, likes unique and flashy stuff, but he or she cannot be able to afford it. The goal is to stand out and okay, now let's go back. So now when you go back, um, so the persona lives. Okay, before I continue, I think it much better if you're describing a persona, like make it more specific. Like let's say it's Brenda instead of now having to say he or he. It would be much easier. So like, so Brenda lives in Gara and wants to make her bedsitter her palace. So Brenda thinks of this cool blinking and dimming light that can respond to an input, say voice. I think the idea of blinking and dimming comes from the fact that you say flashy things, flashy and unique. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think. I think.
Yeah, and I think Tabi has raised a very important issue when you're developing your persona. So you're thinking about, like, different people. Maybe you already have a business and you know who your customers are. So your persona is your customer. So you need to be very specific. So when we were developing our persona, we did say like put their demographics there. Is it a female or a male? Because sometimes, you know, when you have customers, you have different needs for a male person and a female person. So it's really important that you be very specific. So our 10 minutes is up, and I would like to hear, you know, more people sharing. I see Godwin has already shared his. If is anyone else, you know, sharing their needs for their persona? And I think the most important thing is to realize that when you are looking at the people you're designing for, it's now easier to imagine yourself. Because okay, as a developer or as a problem solver, I usually find myself in a situation where I'm thinking of myself when I'm developing that solution. So when you're doing this empathy exercise and looking at your personas, you're looking at somebody else who is not you. So it challenges you to really put away, like let yourself go and think about other people. So you're able to think of what is really their need, what are they trying to achieve, and how can you be of use to them. So I hope by the end of this exercise you've realized that it's not about me, it's about the person I'm designing for, or I'm developing for, or I'm creating a solution for. I hope I hope that has come out clearly.
Yes.
Okay. So the next session, we're now going to think
Ways. So,
I think something gonna happen. But anyway, someone shared some like as we
yeah,
wait for Brenda to come back.
yeah.
People shared my persona is a young graduate, unemployed, living in Eastlands, Nairobi, and has recently ventured into urban farming and chicken farming
for a minute.
since he has a small garden in his backyard. He has a problem that many Brenda, yeah, I'm reading out someone else's persona.
Okay.
So this persona is a young graduate, let's say Zelda, unemployed, living in Eastlands, Nairobi, and has directly ventured into urban farming, especially chicken farming, since she has a small garden in our backyard. Or he, okay, let me use he. That he has a problem that many of his chicks keep dying since he keeps missing the various doses of vaccination and medication the chicks need to grow healthy.
So the main challenge here is they keep missing the doses for vaccination. So that's a very good and specific challenge, because you know you're thinking about maybe his cheeks are dying and things like that. Many people are quick to say, oh, I have this challenge or my cheeks are dying and this, but this person has gone to the specific problem of identifying that it's upon me. I am, you know, I'm forgetting to vaccinate my cheeks, or I'm not getting the dose right. So that's really good.
I think now what
Delphins.
I think what
Uh-huh.
that now needs to do is now like define like now the need. What does now this young graduate need, to help in this situation?
Exactly. So this person, whoever they are, they need a way of making sure that they remember to vaccinate their chicks on time, things like that. So your problem statement could be, how might we help so and so remember to vaccinate their chicks on time to avoid losses due to, you know, diseases and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So,
Delphine said something.
yeah.
Uh,
Tabby.
yeah, so that says persona is a community in the rural areas that has KPLC power, or that KPLC has not yet reached. So they have to look for a way that they can have cheap and affordable electricity to enable economic activity in the region. Yeah. Because I'm assuming because they don't have lights, so technology nice, you get nice. I don't
Mm.
understand.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Rhea haven't reached you, Devin.
Yeah.
Rural electrification. So you had something else posted. They need a way to do something. I can't see it anymore.
Uh,
I don't
I
know.
think
You
it's
just said,
So
yeah, already.
they have to look for a way that they can have cheap and affordable electricity to enable economic activity in the region. So all like this is also like a good problem statement because you've
yeah.
identified their challenge and what they need. It's they need affordable electricity, because when they get affordable electricity they'll be able to have better economic activities in their region. So like that's I think people are getting this, so I'm really really
Yeah.
really happy about it.
There's
So
another one here.
The
mhm.
last one, Darrell. Yes,
Yeah.
Sabi.
So the persona is Joe, who is a small or medium scale business owner. He has been growing steadily for the past 1 year, and now they need to secure a loan, and they have an issue of showing their credit worthiness. So yeah, like Joe owns a business and
Yeah.
needs a loan, and now they I think they need now to find a way to show their credit worthiness, as well as
Mm.
a way to ease their process of getting the loan.
Okay, so if like you're going to a bank showing them, I need to get a loan for this project and this and that. So I need a way to convince this bank that I'm able to, I have a great credit score, something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. I'm really loving these ideas that people are coming up with. So a good problem statement, really identifies, it really focuses on the user, what their need is. So I really think people are getting it. So when you're thinking of defining that problem, because when you are trying to build a solution, if you don't get the problem right, so what solution are you creating really? So you really have to understand what is it that your user is trying to achieve for you to be able to start thinking about the solutions that you can offer them.
Okay,
So
I can give mine now, right?
yeah,
Yes.
Tabi, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, that's so my persona is Rose. Rose, a woman living in Kibra.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh, they have the problem they're facing is water. You know, there's the water challenge in Kibra, and like for you, like sometimes they have to. Okay, Rose now in particular, Rose has to walk long distances to go and get water, and sometimes she might even go to that particular water point and not even find the water. Like this is our usual water point, but then you go there and there's no water. So Rose needs a way, to find out. Needs a way to find out if there is water in an existing water vendor shop, because they operate on vendor shops, water vendor shops. So Rose needs a way to, to get to know the available water point, yeah, and if the available water points actually have water in there, so that she can now lessen the burden of having to walk long distance and not find water. And she's a woman, she's a mother, and she needs to get back home and do everything. So now, how might we help Rose find a way to get to the point? Yeah, yeah, so as to save her time and yeah.
Mm.
Nice.
That's really cool, because sometimes when you live in a place where there's water, it's easy to assume, you just turn on your tap and you get the water. But I've never really, this is something I've learned actually from your challenge, that I've never really thought of. You could actually go to a water point and find that there's no water today. So yeah, that's really a good point of view. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, so we how many minutes do we have left, Elda? Thinking about the next.
Like 30.
Yeah, because I want to leave like 10 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah.
So when we are, I've seen like people coming up with really creative ways of approaching this challenge. And I'm just going to share my screen again. And I hope this time you also like seeing my screen. So why choose human-centered design? So design thinking, as I mentioned earlier, is a methodology that helps us to think about our users while we are designing solutions for them. And many people ask what is the difference between human-centered design and design thinking? So today we want to understand that human-centered design is the bigger umbrella where you're thinking about your users as you are defining a problem and designing a solution for them. And design thinking is a methodology that helps you achieve human-centered design. So at the end of this session, I hope we'll be able to understand that design thinking enables us to be able to do human-centered design. So for you to do human-centered design, there are other technologies that you might choose, maybe agile design, lean startup, to do your designs, but always remembering to put your user at the center of your design process. So always going back to the drawing board and asking yourself, am I really delivering what my user needs? So there are other popular methods that you could use beside the 5-stage design thinking that we are looking at. And most of the time people ask, why should I consider human-centered design? It's because it's really helping you understand the problem so that you're designing for the right problem. So if you don't really understand what the problem is, how can you offer me a solution? So the basics of design thinking is understanding what the problem is and finding the right way of solving that problem. Whether you choose to use design thinking or other methodologies, it's still human-centered design. And so we've looked at our persona, we've developed them, we've understood their challenge. So what do we do next? So I want us to understand the 5 major stages of design thinking. And in this session, we are adapting the 5 stages developed by the Stanford Design School. So the 5 stages are: you empathize, you define, you ideate, then you prototype and test. And as a design thinker, you need to understand that it's not going to be easy. It's going to take you, time to going back to the problem, testing that solution. If it doesn't work, you go back to really understand what is it that the user they wanted. So that's why I have here you empathize, you define the problem, what it is. In ideating, you are trying to really come up with as many solutions as you can. When you list down the solutions, it doesn't matter, forget all the assumptions that you have, what you think the user needs sometimes is not what they need. So you come up with as many ideas as you can and then test them out, prototype them, go to the field and actually implement them and test with the user. Are they using it as you intended it? If you're creating software, are they interacting with the platform like you thought they would? But sometimes you think someone would click a button and they barely notice it. So as a developer, you need to be ready for those moments when you came up with an idea, when you went to test it, you realize that people didn't react the way you wanted. So what can you do to help them understand better? So it makes the whole process really iterative. It doesn't mean that you've set a project for 1 week and you'll be able to implement it in 1 week. If it gets to the testing part and you realize people have no idea what you are creating, you need to be able to be willing to go back to the drawing board and come up with a fresh idea to help your people. understand what it is that you're trying to help them achieve. And always in this process, remembering that your user is the center of your design process. And from a business perspective, and I know today we have like people who are learning code, either you have an enterprise or you're looking to change your career or start a job in a business setup. So why human-centered design is important is you'll be able to be innovative in the sense that you are looking at your customers before you start the design process. So how do you discover the unmet needs of your customer? How do you realize that this product we created is not really meeting the needs of our customers? So having that conversation, and sometimes it takes like maybe doing interviews with them, engaging with them, visiting them, and immersing yourself in their daily activities to understand that, oh, we created this software to help our bankers do better consolidation of their accounting and this. But when I went to their office, I realized that they're actually not using the software because maybe they don't understand this and that. So you, as a designer, get to understand what is it that you can do better to design a better product for them. And then once you understand what challenges they are facing, you're able to test this solution. So this is now the prototyping phase. So you're building prototypes and sending out to the users. And sometimes you get surveys and people asking you to give them feedback on their products and things like that. And sometimes you'll be even supposed to go like observe them, because as human beings I might say something, but I do the opposite of what I tell you I do. So observe them. Are they really using it as you intended them to use it? So as a software developer, maybe you build a website to help someone achieve a particular goal. Are they using it the way you thought they use it? Because sometimes I just feel like when we design things, we are tempted to look at ourselves the way we would use it. But the people you are intending to use it, they don't really understand why you created it. So going back to just focusing on the person who will use your product. And now is executing it in the market. So when you get, you have a marketing team that's gone out there and told people, oh, we have this awesome product that's going to help your life, improve your life in this and this. Are you able to really execute it, like implement it so that it's achieving that goal for them? So from a business perspective, I think that understanding what your users needs as a developer, as a problem solver, as a person who is building solutions, helps you to think about other people rather than yourself. And that could be good for business, because then when you're designing for someone, you are building a product that they want. Everyone is crying for, we have to get this product, instead of they created this, it's doing this and that and things like that. So you want really to build a product that people are yearning to use. I don't know how much time I have left. Okay, we still have some time. So my summary is, when you are designing, you want to look into, dig deep into the problem of what the user is experiencing. So immerse yourself in that process, talk to them, observe them, and see really what are they saying about this challenge, what are they currently doing to solve their challenge, and how can you make that process better, so that by the time you're defining the problem, you've actually captured what the user is actually experiencing, what is their challenge. Because sometimes we assume, like the example that I think Tabi gave on water. Sometimes we assume like maybe there's no water supply, but maybe there's water and not suitable for consumption, it's dirty. So the root problem could be maybe there's water but I can't consume it. Maybe it's from a river and it's dirty, things like that. So really looking at what is the root cause of this problem, because again I say, as a problem solver, you cannot solve a problem unless you understand what the cause of this problem is. And sometimes it as a developer, as a it's it's tempting to think of technical solution or the fancy tech and things like that, but sometimes the solution is really just something simple that can help these people understand. To solve this problem, you just need a change of mindset and things like that. And when you're thinking about human-centered design, you really need to be ready to iterate. When you go to the testing stage and you realize, oh, these people, they have no idea about this solution that I'm creating, and they don't understand it or they don't like it. So you need to be ready to go back to the drawing board and start from, okay, this is the challenge we identified. Is it really a challenge? How can we help this community solve this problem? If the solution you created didn't work, what angles can you change and look at, so that you create a better solution for them? So you really need to be ready to iterate as many times as you need to, so that you come up with a solution that's really suitable for that community. And then one very important thing is always documenting your insights. When you go to talk to people, always have your notebook or your digital platform that you're using, if it's a notepad or note taker, all those things. Always document your insights, because when you're designing a solution, it could be as simple as going back to your notes and realizing, oh, so and so actually said this. How can you explore that opinion so that you come up with a better solution for that community? I hope we're together up to there. Velda or...
Yes, we were together.
Okay. So I feel like I've talked too much, and now it's time to take any questions, because I've come to the end of my presentation, and I hope you have a better understanding of what this process looks like. So first of all, empathize with the user, define what their challenge really is, create ideas, like come up with as many as possible, then settle on a few and then prototype them. Then when you're going, before you implement them, you test them out and see how are users reacting to this solution that I've created. And it's as simple as that, but when you're implementing, it's about forgetting all the assumptions you have and really listening to what people need before you implement it. And I think now at this point, I am really, really, really happy that people tuned in, and I just want to take a few questions before we end.
Okay. So I would like to add a few things on what you've just said.
Mhm.
So define the 5 stages of design, which I think are really important in mostly the tech industry, because sometimes you might want to like implement features that you think the users need, but then you're only biased because you want to add more features to make it look flashy, but then you've not asked or you have not consulted your users to see if the actual features that you first implemented are working or if they are even efficient or effective before coming to add other features. So I think that is really important. And as developers, you need to remember that the solution that you're building, you're not building it just for you, you're building it for users, and users also need to have like opinions where they can express whether they have issues or concerns with the application or website that you're building. So yes, I think it's really important to like empathize with the user.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Empathize with the user. And
Empathize.
I think on
yeah,
that,
and mhm.
On that note, Velda's note, I remember this class I had, and like, I, don't worry, I'm really mentioning the Kibra project. Yeah, like, so our lecturer was giving us an example of, like, maybe when I go to the internet and I see pictures of, the kids there drinking dirty water, and in my head I'm like, oh, this one needs to be educated on that. This water is harmful, it's not good for their health. So you see, I'm already quick to judge that these people have no idea that this water is unsafe for drinking. And then that's when I'll start thinking of a solution or how to educate them and start doing campaigns, blah blah blah. I have not really identified what the problem is because maybe they even know that it's harmful, but they have other options.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's why it's really important to go to the field, to go to your user and find out, not going with your own assumptions. And I mean, have a beginner mindset when you're tackling a problem.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, don't go so
So yeah, and I think what Tabi has just said is really, really important. We are human, we have our own assumptions, from the past experiences that we have things that we like and prefer, and it's easy for us to judge that when I go to this area their water is dirty. If only someone could tell them, and maybe they already know like our water is dirty, but we still use it anyway. So,
It's
so
not like
yeah,
option.
your assumptions are your own. When you're designing for someone, you really want to think in their perspective. What do they see? What do they know? What don't they know? Things like that. So really just letting yourself go and being willing to take that deep dive into understanding what is it that they need for that community. And sometimes it's tempting, like I said earlier, like it's tempting as developers to come up with fancy apps and
Yeah.
tech to try and help people's problem, but to them it doesn't make sense at all. So really going to them and understanding what is your challenge and what are you trying to achieve, so that I can help you with or without tech. It's
Yeah.
really the biggest part. Yeah. And I
that's
think for me, design thinking does that in terms of just forgetting everything. Like you've done research about these people, but when you go to them, start from the, like Tabi said, beginner's mindset. Assume like you are learning afresh about these people. So you are really listening to them and forgetting every assumption that you have about them.
yeah, that takes me to another point. Like you mentioned, developers, and yeah, developers are known to quick to finding solutions
Yeah.
and not understanding the problem. You know, and even in the how I think statements that you are making, you might find out like I'm already saying, oh no, like maybe Velda, I don't know what I don't remember what she said, but imagine Velda saying, oh, Tabi needs an electronic whatever to help us switch on. You see, she's already going directly to
Exactly. You're already assuming this person needs this instead of really analyzing what their situation is. And
yeah,
Yeah, and asking Tabitha why exactly she keeps leaving lights on in various rooms.
yeah.
yeah,
So you
and maybe that person just needs to leave their lights on. You don't know. Maybe they're afraid of the dark, things like that. So how can you help them leave lights on but still save, their token costs and things like that? So
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think design
And
thinking.
sometimes you may end up like thinking that the problem that they have is the one that you think of. But then the problem actually is not what you're thinking, it is an underlying issue that you could not have found if you hadn't like talked to them or engaged the users. So probably if you could build the solution, it would end up to be a waste of time because then it would also still have a problem.
Mm. And I
So
remember a good example I like to give is I once worked with a group of students from Dagoretti area, and they were, oh, we have a lot of insecurity in our area, so we want to implement this high tech CCTV system to be able to capture, insecurity issues. If someone is mugging you, to be able to see who they are and things like that. But after going through the whole process, they realized that these people who are mugging people are
Yeah.
actually young people in their community, and it's because either they're unemployed or school dropouts, and they're idle. So instead of implementing a high-tech solution, they ended up changing their direction to doing more of mentorship to build better citizens in their communities rather than doing a high-tech CCTV system. So it's dawned to them that what we need is a behavioral change solution instead of like a technical solution of installing CCTV. So those are moments when you realize assumptions you had about your community are totally off from what my community needs. Yeah. Do you have any questions in the chat?
Tabby, could you tell us if there are any questions?
Not yet. Just a comment from Cynthia who says, "Thank you, Brenda and the She Code Africa team. The session was awesome." And Brenda, Cynthia wants to know when the next cohort for learning website development starts or if it's already starting. I think this is for the main She Code Africa. I think
Yes.
Brenda is in the right position to tell us.
Wow, I think they take in on a yearly basis. So I think the next one is going to be open really soon. But yes, and we are She Code Africa Nairobi, so it's like completely different from the main She Code Africa. But anytime we have any opportunities from either She Code Africa or from our own community, that is She Code Africa Nairobi, we'll always be sharing them through the Telegram group. I think I sent a link earlier to join. And I'm also thinking of coming up with a group on Signal since people are also starting to shift from WhatsApp. Yeah. Yeah. So it will also be sent to the same Telegram channel. So please join the channel and get more updates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So Irene says she's reminded of us saying technology is not the solution to everything. So I think that's why design thinking is very important because when you go through the whole process, that's when you come and realize maybe I don't really need a technical solution to this problem.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes the problems that we try to solve with technology can actually be solved through probably speaking to people, learning the problem, and just that. But then we want to complicate things and be like, no, we have to write code for this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really tempting because then you are used to technical. I have to code to solve this
Yeah.
problem, and you forget about the human factor where
Yeah.
I'm dealing with people here, and they deal with issues, they have their insecurities, they have their opinions and things like that. So
Yeah.
you are quick to develop these technical solutions, but really people look at you and think like, what were you thinking about when you're developing that? So it takes us back to considering the human factor, who you reminding you that you are designing for people like you, and going back to the drawing board and understanding what it is that they are really interested in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Delphine says this is incredible. Thanks, Pico Africa and Brenda. Yeah. I don't know if there is any other. Maybe maybe Brenda could give us, what do you call them? The last
Takeaways.
yeah before yeah, if people have any comments or questions.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to say that I really enjoyed this session, Velda and Tabi. Thank you so much, and I do hope that we will meet, in person for the in-person trainings and things like that. And for me, when I was introduced to design thinking, as an engineer, I had never thought about it from that point of view of you are always designing for someone. As an engineer, you want to solve problems, you want to create solutions and things like that. But I had never thought of from that point of view that I'm actually designing for someone and I need to be thinking of them when I'm implementing them. It was always about how technical and fancy can I get. So it was a great challenge to me it humbled me that, you're designing for people and you really need to think about them, but when you're designing things. So to everyone, if you are listening, like if you heard about design thinking today for the first time, it's an opportunity for you to learn. And it's as simple as just Googling design thinking, and you'll see a lot of information from ideo.org. You'll see Board of Innovation, you'll see Think Place, many organizations trying to really incorporate design thinking in their processes and strategies. So take a leap of faith, learn as much as you can. I'm still learning, and even through this session, I've been able to learn a lot and I enjoyed it. So just be willing to let go, like things, be willing to unlearn, basically, is what I'm saying. So you have your assumptions, you have things, my proven like methodologies that work for you, but when you come to you're designing a solution for people, be willing to unlearn those methods and really empathize with the people you're designing for and understand what their needs is, because you could do all the fancy stuff and all the technical stuff, but people will still look at you and wonder, no, why did she build that? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. And if I could add on to Brenda's knowledge, well of knowledge, like she gave us the main stages of design thinking. The first one being empathizing, then defining the problem, like what problem do we have at hand? Then after that we go to ideating. And the importance of design thinking and having all these stages in the when you're trying to define the problem and the whole idea of the persona. You see how she told us, you can come up with user needs, and then when you do that process, that's when you can find out that there are many things to actually solve here. Yeah. It's not that one particular problem you're thinking of. There are so many of them. And even when you go to the how might we, like how might we help Belda do this, how might we help Daddy do this, those are different ideas. And then when you come to the ideation stage, like it's easy for us to think ideation is just having one idea. But the whole idea of the ideation stage is now you have many ideas in the how might we, you have many ideas and you're like try now to converge them and now come up with one idea that you go forward with. And now you go and prototype that idea and then implement it. So like one thing I got from my design thinking class is ideation is not about one idea. Ideation is about so many ideas. Then now you choose the one that you think like you can merge the different ideas and then now merge it into one and solve it.
Yeah, they always say like quantity. This is where you say quantity versus quality. Like get as many as you can, because sometimes you realize we limit ourselves in terms of creativity. Like you think you know what your manager wants to hear, you know what your colleagues want to hear, so you say it, but those hidden thoughts that you have in your mind, the creative things, is what you don't say. So when you're coming to ideation, be open-minded and be willing to accommodate your colleagues or your team members. So be willing to take as much as you can, so that you have so much before you settle down on like maybe 3 or 5 that you'll test out.
Yeah, I also think design thinking also helps you like get to know more about the problem and expound more on the problem. Like, what can you do to fix it? Is there anything that can be changed without actually getting into implementation? Yes, it makes you go through all the processes, and it actually makes you think a little bit more about the actual solution that you're coming up with. Because remember, the solution is for the users, and you have to like have, as you say, the human-centered design. You need to think of the users. You can't create something that is not going to be used. Then there will be no point of actually creating or building the project that you've built. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I see a question from Katiku. Brenda, can you speak a bit about your organization and internship opportunities? And I'm laughing. I'm laughing because I'm actually looking for an intern. So this might be a person. This might be a person who submitted an application or so. But yes, my organization, Global Minimum, deals with youth development and leadership skills, and we focus on STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because we believe that that's where Africa is headed, creating problem solvers in our communities rather than waiting for people to come and bring us solutions when we have the potential to bring these solutions to ourselves. So at Global Minimum, we do youth programs, and one of the programs we run is an innovation challenge where we challenge young people in their communities to look at problems they're experiencing and come up with solutions. It's usually a very competitive process, and finalists get to attend like a boot camp where they get mentorship on. We do design thinking sessions to help them realize and do research on their users and things like that, and realize their ideas to actual solutions and develop business models and things like that. And another program we do is called the Innovation Lab, where we introduce them um, to technical things like coding, and we do things as simple as Scratch, Arduinos, but because they're high school students, and we introduce them to coding and things like that. So people get people get immersed in the whole STEM education, and we've had some of our alumni go to places like Akira Chicks, Moringa School to pursue coding, even though they didn't know about it at all. So it's a really interesting space to work in. And yes, we are hiring for interns. If you haven't seen the application yet, just go to our website at gmin.org, and under our team, you'll see an application form for the internship, and you can submit your application, follow the instructions strictly, and yeah, you never know. We might be working together in the next month actually, because we hope to hire by February.
Okay. I like that you've mentioned like following instructions really like, correctly. Because sometimes people may be asked for like you should drop like a one-page CV and then somebody drops a two-page, or probably you could ask for 200 words and people write like 1,000 words. So yes,
Yeah.
instructions are really important.
Just to add on that, oh, okay, so like one of the instructions is to send your CV and a cover letter, and then someone sends just an email, forgets to to tag, forgets to attach their CV and cover letter. But I've seen people like redeem themselves by just doing another email immediately with their CV and cover letter.
Yeah.
So just really following the instructions, because I've already received. I actually posted the opportunity on Monday, and I've already got over 50 applicants. So that one simple mistake could mean that you don't get the opportunity. Yeah. So just follow the instructions, and yeah, be able like reach out to me on LinkedIn on your interests and things like that. My LinkedIn profile is just Brenda Nyakoa. You'll see me at Global Minimum, and let's talk about what you're interested in and things like that.
I really
Okay.
don't get why someone would write 1,000 words when you ask for 200.
There.
You have to put out like you feel like 200 words are not going to cover your argument as to why you need the internship. You have not seen crazy applications yet.
Imagine
There are people who overdo, yeah. So
Yeah.
they just, I have to stand out and things like that. But also following instructions is important. Yeah.
Following instructions is also standing out because if you follow instructions to the letter, that means if they start filtering with, if they start by like looking at who has not followed instructions, will still be there. So at least
Yeah.
you'll get to proceed from here to like here and probably get your application read and you can actually get the internship. So yes, instructions
I,
are very important.
Okay.
I, still, I still feel like they shouldn't even ask people 200 words, just one word of like a sign. Anyway, well, from my side, I think I'm good because there are no comments, no questions. So,
Okay.
kind of, we
Okay.
can
Okay.
round it.
So I'd like to give the final like vote of thanks unless Tabby you have something to add.
Nah,
Okay.
I'm cool.
So yes, Brenda, thank you so much for coming in for this design thinking session. I have really gotten more knowledge on design thinking than I had, and my persona as Tabitha, I hope she gets a solution to her problem. Yes, and I have really enjoyed this session, and I hope to like get you also, hopefully before the end of the year when we have physical events, to get you to also come in for our
Mhm.
physical workshop. Yes.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank
Thank you so much for organizing this. And I think I must say, I also enjoyed this, and it's good to
you.
see like some familiar, familiar people. And someone said, "I want pizza too. You can come by tomorrow for the leftover." So I'm really thankful for you, Velda, for reaching out. Delphine, thank you for the reference. Tabby,
Yeah.
I still think I know you from somewhere. So let's keep in touch. And I'm always happy to help, women for women. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you also to the attendees for taking the time to attend this session. And yes, let's continue the conversation in on Telegram through our Telegram group. Yes,
Okay,
thank
be sure to invite me to the groups.
yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.